Okay guys, I'm back with anaerobic respiration. We went through aerobic respiration in my last video, so this is the other side of respiration, if you like. Anaerobic respiration is respiration without oxidation, without oxygen. And this happens when muscle tissues are working rigorously and the amount of ATP required is more than the oxygen available. So this then means that we aren't able to do oxidative phosphorylation efficiently enough to make as much ATP as we need for the muscles to respire. So then we start to anaerobically respire, and when this happens, oxidative phosphorylation then stops, the link reaction stops, the Krebs cycle stops, and all we have left is glycolysis happening. And there's two types of anaerobic respiration: lactate fermentation and alcohol fermentation. Lactate fermentation happens in us humans, animals, and alcohol fermentation happens in yeast cells and in plant cells. How this works is very easy. It's not as detailed as aerobic respiration, so we can get on with it a lot quicker. So here we go. We've got pyruvate, and pyruvate is our end product of glycolysis. If you don't remember, just go over the aerobic respiration video that I did. And with pyruvate, this is lactate fermentation, by the way. So let me show. No, it's alright. Pyruvate, and what happens here is we have an enzyme called lactate dehydrogenase, which catalyzes the oxidation of NADH from glycolysis. So we then collect the 2 hydrogen atoms from NADH, which then becomes NAD+, and goes back to pick up some hydrogen atoms from glucose or 1,2-fructose biphosphate in glycolysis. This happens so that we can keep generating ATP. So we take these 2 hydrogen atoms, and lactate dehydrogenase catalyzes this reaction, and by collecting these 2 hydrogen atoms, we then form a compound called lactate. Yeah, that's Lactate, lactate, and that's the end of our anaerobic respiration or lactate fermentation in animals. Now what happens to lactate is lactate gets transported in the blood to the liver, where when more oxygen is available, it then gets converted back into pyruvate and can then go straight into the link reaction, where it can be turned into acetate and then do the Krebs cycle and then go forward into aerobic respiration, where it can be oxidatively phosphorylized. Now in yeast cells or plant cells, we have alcohol fermentation, but we still have our pyruvate compound here. What happens here is we have an enzyme called pyruvate decarboxylase. Yeah, pyruvate decarboxylase. And by the name of the enzyme, we can deduce that we're going to lose a carbon atom. So therefore, we lose carbon dioxide. And then we make something called ethanol. Yeah? So now we've made our ethanol. After making our ethanol, we then oxidize NADH again, which gives us NAD+, which is going to go back and pick some more hydrogen for us. So our hydrogen atoms are accepted by ethanol, and then an enzyme called ethanol dehydrogenase catalyzes this and gives us our alcohol, which is ethanol. Yeah? Well, that's not how you spell ethanol. Let's be serious. Which gives us ethanol. And that is our aerobic respiration done did. So let's just summarize. Pyruvate is a hydrogen acceptor here in lactate fermentation. It accepts the 2 hydrogen atoms and then it's formed into lactate. Lactate can be converted into pyruvate. The problem with alcohol fermentation is that ethanol doesn't have this reversible effect. It can't be converted back into pyruvate. So that's an advantage of lactate fermentation. However, alcoholic fermentation is a lot more, it's faster. So anyways, pyruvate gets decarboxylated, lose a carbon atom. We then come to ethanol, and then ethanol is dehydrogenated by our enzyme ethanol dehydrogenase, which gives us our last ethanol compound. And this is how we aerobically respire. Now, you're probably wondering, where is the ATP? We don't actually have any ATP here. ATP is being made in the steps of our glycolysis. It's being made by, the phosphorylation of of the intermediate compound, making it going into pyruvate. So it's all happening in glycolysis. However, we need to do something about these pyruvate compounds that we make, and this is what happens with them. And our NAD, our coenzymes NADH, continue to allow glycolysis to go forth by oxidizing, going back and picking up hydrogen atoms. So there we go. That's aerobic respiration done. Any questions? Just comment below. Bye. Whoopsie daisy.